bottom line is there's a lot of people that are, again, emotionally unstable. People that only listen to one news source and they don't get the full picture. So then when they hear something, they think, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Blah, 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 blah. First, let's listen to what Dave Smith says. All right. So this is Dave Smith, big libertarian dude, friend of Joe Rogan, previously said that Donald Trump is a war criminal and should spend the rest of his life in prison.
I would be very happy for to see Donald Trump impeached for the illegal, immoral, borderline war of genocide that he's been helping the Saudis conduct in Yemen. Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison, just with, right alongside Barack Obama and George W. Bush and John McCain and all the rest of them. Let me just say this real quick. Donald Trump should be in prison for war crimes for what he did to the people of Yemen. How's that for taking on the right? You're just defending your Democratic president. Good. I actually stand on principle. Lockdowns and keeping Fauci on the job and Yemen and Israel and Iran, and there's just like government spending, and there's just a lot of them that it's like I just kind of can't forgive him for, but I think I might vote for Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump, listen, man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one, but he should be impeached and removed for this one.
He went from Donald Trump is a war criminal that should spend the rest of his life in prison to I'm going to support Donald Trump and I'm going to vote for him, to now he says this right here.
It was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian, the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke. Yeah. I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Right. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so
they were negotiating. They were negotiating. Trump gave them 60 days. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Donald Trump, listen, man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some like not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I know I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this, because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations, but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
So no matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain, is a classic libertarian saying. And ultimately, what this comes down to is that will be clipped, and that's going to be, his name is Comic Dave Smith, and that will be the greatest comedic effort that he has given us. My goodness, man. Now, what's funny is right here. I love this. Black Conservative Perspective says, so I'm trying to figure out why all these anti-Zionists voted for the most pro-Israel president in our lifetime and are now shocked that he's pro-Israel. Fascinating stuff. What part of Donald Trump's election did you not think that he was? Of course, he's a pro-Israel guy. He's never said otherwise. Who are you listening to? Holy shit. But the bottom line is like, how do you go from he's a war criminal that should be arrested to I'm voting for him to he should be impeached and pulled from office? Who are you going to put in his place? It's wild. It makes no sense. But again, this is the emotional reaction that we're getting across social media right now, because people listen to people that they think agree with them, but they're not telling you the whole story. They're just not telling you the whole story, and that's fine. Emotionally unstable people always act out and do that. The best thing to do right now is to, if you voted for Trump, some of you didn't, and that's totally fine. You can fucking hate him forever and a day. That's fine. But if you voted for Trump, the best thing to do right now is to be patient and see what happens here. Because I don't know what's going to happen. And I doubt you know. And I doubt very many people know. And if we've looked at Twitter today, it's been pretty obvious that no one really knows what's happening. I think personally, and this is just my opinion based on the situation, based on what we're seeing, I believe Donald Trump is negotiating as aggressively as we've seen him negotiate on the world stage right now, because the things he's saying and the way he's going about it, he's basically, I mean, if you've listened to it, he keeps talking about we're really close to a peace deal. We're really close to a peace deal. And this directly involves him. So this isn't like Ukraine and Russia. Like, this is directly involving the United States of America. And we have to, because we supply and fund Israel. So he's definitely trying everything he can to get this peace deal. And the things he's saying are meant as scare tactics, because the great thing about Trump is that a lot of people think he's unpredictable. And a lot of people think that he just is a wild card in these situations. And I think he's trying to lean into that right now with a lot of the action that he's taking. The bottom line is, it is true, with me included, the heavy majority of MAGA voters do not want us involved in unnecessary wars with Middle East countries. We don't. I don't. 90% of MAGA does not want this. I don't want us involved in this shit at all. And I will stand true to that and consistent with that. I don't want us involved in this. And it feels like the Prime Minister of Israel is trying to manipulate the United States of America into this to help them. That's what it feels like on the surface. Clearly, there might be more going on, but this feels very manipulative from what I'm seeing. And I'm trying to just take this and calmly assess the situation as more official information comes out. And I do think Trump's in a very tough situation right now. I think he's in a very tough predicament. And a lot of people, like, they think that Trump, like, let's just be real. If you think Trump shouldn't be involved in this, please, like, let's have a real conversation. What do you think he should do? Like, if Trump cuts, and it's not realistic to say he should cut ties with Israel. Donald Trump would lose every piece of support. You can't just cut ties with Israel. He would lose so much support from his own fucking party to the point where they would bury the fuck out of him. That's the truth. So that's not a realistic scenario. So realistically, logically, what should Trump do in this situation right now? And I don't think anybody has a good answer. I think that he is in a very tough spot right now. And I'll say this, as someone who's a huge fan of Donald Trump, there's been one time that he legitimately lost. And that's with COVID. He got played with COVID. And I don't know if he realized it. To be honest, I don't know if Trump realizes it at this point, but he got played with COVID. They used COVID to take his presidency from him. So he is not someone that cannot be, he can be manipulated, because he got manipulated with COVID. And I'm hoping that he has learned from mistakes in the past, and I hope that he doesn't allow himself to get played in this situation. I don't think he will, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility because he did get played with COVID. They used COVID to get rid of him, and they thought that they would get rid of him forever. But ultimately it backfired on them, and it doesn't change the fact that they used COVID to destroy his first presidency, destroy the momentum that he built. And I feel like right now, like I've said, the people that write the history books, they want the history books to say that World War III happened under Donald J. Trump. When Donald J. Trump was president, they want to be able to talk about the insurrection of 2020 and how he tried to overthrow the government and how all of the brave Democrats tried to stop him and how he held down diversity and equity and representation efforts. And he stormed back to power. He took back that power. And when he got back to power, there was protest around the country. No kings. We don't want a king. And suddenly he started World War III. That is what they want the history books to say. We shall see how this all plays out. But I think Donald Trump has an incredibly tough situation on his hands right now. Incredible.